Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 751 for the 15th of March. We're going to start off with the Frontline Changes Report, and we'll start off with Semenivka, or basically the Avdiivka Front. So there is a few frontline change over in this region here. The first thing first is the Ukrainian mapping has considered entire tree line just on the eastern part of Semenivka. So this is Semenivka currently under Ukrainian control, and the Russian forces have basically taken one more tree line in this area here, and so this is a rather significant change, at least in this front line that is currently becoming more and more static. So in this area here, the Ukrainians still have this tree line. So if I zoom in a bit, you can see that the Russians have these tree lines. They have taken these tree lines over here. The Ukrainians still have control over the other ones in this region here. So we will continue to monitor and see how these progress over at this Avdiivka Front region. Now, nearby, there is also some frontline change over at Tonenke. The Ukrainian mapping also have considered the eastern half of Tonenke. So they in their mapping, they show that the Russian forces have taken the eastern half. This area here that is currently claimed by the Russian side is not acknowledged by the Ukrainian mappings. So this area here, according to the Ukrainians, are still under Ukrainian control, which means that the Ukrainians still have this area here. But it continues to be this very weird salient around here. And the Russians also has been geolocated to be attacking this junction of tree lines, this tree line over around here, just south of these buildings area here, extending Russian control in the southwestern part of Tonenke. So this we will continue to monitor and see how this progress. A very unusual situation over this area, and then Avdiivka, we mentioned Avdiivka, Tonenke, Semenivka. So okay, so then the last one is over at Nevelske. So it's also at Avdiivka. So at Nevelske, there is a geolocation of Russian forces attacking this Nevelske itself, and this actually confirms at least the southern half of Nevelske is now under Russian control or contested or have Russian presence. So if I zoom in a bit, the Russians are geolocated around here. They are battling within the buildings, so which means that the Russians definitely has entered the southern half. It is not a full confirmation of the capture of the entire of Nevelske. This is only the first of the footages that's coming out from Nevelske that we currently not entirely sure if the Russian claims is accurate that they have captured Nevelske. So that's all for the Frontline Changes report. So we move on to the strategic and tactical reporting. We're going to go from the south, from the southern fronts all the way up north and end with the Belgorod Front. For those that want to just skip, skip certain front line, just skip it. Over at the southern front, there is only reports continuing from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about fighting in the area of the Kherson Front. They say that the Russians attack the Ukrainian troops. Is unclear exactly where. They did not mention, so they also don't want to mention because maybe they don't want to feel shy. They're a bit shy. So moving on to the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, there is only reports of fighting in the Orikhiv sector, and particularly we are only talking about Robotine. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians are attacking in the area of Robotine, and that's about it. We do not have any other information about this. There is a lack of Russian Defense Ministry information in today's report because usually on Saturdays, or rather Fridays, yesterday, they will do a sum up of the week, and as a result, I do not have specific information, so I have nothing to map based on the Russian mappings, unless they do the individual armies report, group of forces report, but usually there's nothing much there. And over in the Donetsk Front, this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, the Russian forces are attacking in multiple sectors. The fighting has reduced quite a bit, maybe as a result of the lack of Russian reporting, so we have a lot of information lacking, I guess. The Russians are still attacking Staromayoske, so let me switch off the mute my stuff. So the Russians are still attacking Staromayoske. This is still ongoing. And the Russians are attacking Novomikhailivka, Georgievka, as well as Krasnohorivka. So I don't think yeah, no, that's all from this area here. There is no fighting reported at Uruzhaini. So the Ukrainians are not attacking anymore. So tentatively, that's what we know. There is a geolocation of a Russian airstrike on the eastern part of Uruzhaini. So there is a massive airstrike around there. A fat bomb was dropped on Ukrainian defensive forward position. And there is also TOS-1A, the thermobaric missile attack on the Ukrainian forces within Novomikhailivka, thus confirming Ukrainian presence still within Novomikhailivka, or at least on the western part of it. So no, yeah, the Russians have not been able to push them out yet. Fighting at Georgievka and Krasnohorivka, there is not much information about these two attacks. So, this Krasnohorivka, this Georgievka, nothing much reported in this area here. So we will continue to monitor. Information, as you can see, is only from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Usually we have the Russian ones, but today we just don't have them. Over at the Avdiivka Front, Russian forces are still trying, and this time around, because of the lack of the Russian reports, it's going to look a lot like the Russians are on the initiative. Russians are attacking Badaichi, Semenivka, Olivka, Tonenke, Pervomaiske, and they must be attacking Nevelske as well. But of course, the Russians claims that they have captured, but as per the Frontline changes report you have probably seen, it may not have captured it. They are just starting to attack. And so over at the Tonenke region, there is geolocation, which shows the Russians are attacking in this area here. So Ukrainians have conceded this entire area. The Russians have taken the eastern half of Tonenke, and then the Russians are now pushing towards the southwestern part of Tonenke. Ukrainian forces are still holding these buildings around here. The Russians have held the other one. So any Ukrainian forces that is still within the Tonenke itself is going to find it really hard to redraw, because any movement in this direction towards another cover will be shot through by Russian forces within these buildings, as well as within the forest line. So all these troops that is within the Tonenke itself is operationally encircled. There's no way out, and the Russians are now pushing out in the southwestern part. And for the Russians, they can also proceed to operationally encircle these forces here. In fact, the forces that is hiding out in these buildings around here will find it really hard to get out. They have to proceed through this forest line and go northward, and that would be by itself a really risky thing to do. And if we zoom out a bit, if the Russians continue to push in this direction and move up north along the tree line, the Ukrainian forces over here will start to find it harder and harder to retreat with the Russian forces in this area here. And there's always a potential that the Russians will cut off the retreat route. So yeah, Tonenke is a bit of a difficult thing. Ukrainian forces will have to do a major counterattack to recapture at least or control more stable ground or more sustainable defensive line in that region. So, and the Semenivka region, this is interesting because this is actually all parallel lines. So this makes it really hard for the Russians to push through. Every time they attack, they will have to go through open ground. So, and then unless they go through these three lines, which currently the Ukrainians are holding. So I believe the Russians will continue to push because the Russian commanders in this front line right now do not have a lot of creativity. So the only thing they know how to do is to smash into the wall. So we will continue to watch them smash into the wall until the wall breaks. I mean, the wall will break eventually. So it's a legitimate strategy. It doesn't matter how much cost it will be. They will get there. So according to the Russian, according to Ryba, they reported that the Ukrainians have managed to hold the line in the Avdiivka because they sent in massive amount of reinforcement, and this is the first time we actually have some kind of number. So they say that there is more than 15 brigades being reinforced into the Avdiivka front by Siversk, and by March the 6th, there was already more than 15 brigades reinforcing. So perhaps by now, another 10 days, there might be a few more brigades being put into this region here. So as a result, the Ukrainian forces was able to stop the breakthrough of the Russian forces, and they claim it may or may not be accurate. They claim that the Ukrainians even use artillery to cut off their own their own troops that is trying to evacuate because of the speed of the advance of the Russian forces during those days when the Russians are having the breakthrough. So this currently Ryba says that the Ukrainians actually have a superior numbers of forces. So the power balance, the troop balance currently, the strength balance, the Ukrainians actually have more men than the Russians over in the Avdiivka Front right now. And not just that, a lot of the equipments are also being sent this way. According to this report from Ryba, they say that the Ukrainians now have a lot of drones. They have more drones. They also they say that the number of drones and FPV drones and the drones that they can drop grenades are so much that to the point where the Ukrainians can actually use individual. They can actually target individual soldiers right now in the front line. So this is a very significant development that the Ukrainians have actually pulled in sufficient forces to plug the hole right here. As I mentioned, this breakthrough, this hole over here is a weak spot, which is why I think Siversk did the right thing by pushing a lot of forces in to reinforce to hold the line, and actually to spend time and effort to actually entrench and strengthen the defense line behind the BOT line. Because after the BOT line, there is entrenchments, but the thing is that they might not be linked up, they might not be refurbished, they might not be sufficient. And so this entire this counter attack that forced the Russians into a standstill over at the BOT region, the BOT line, is successful, and they will be able to entrench, and there is a significant number of troops. But this superior number of troops can be grinded away as well. So it's not exactly, it's not a forever thing, it's not a permanent thing. These troops can be destroyed eventually. And the Ukrainians will have to find a solution, because counterattacking and recapturing Avdiivka city may not be a wise move. So they can concentrate a lot of forces in Avdiivka right now, but it's not a permanent solution. So Ukrainians will have to find something else, or find a line that they can defend much better without so much troops. So it is a standstill right now at Avdiivka. We shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. Over at the New York front, nothing is being reported over here. In the southern flank of the Bakhmut front, the Russian forces continue their usual pilgrimage, attacking Klishevka and Andreevka, and that's about it. Over in the northern flank, there is no reports of fighting in this region here. However, there is geolocation south of Semenivka. There is Russian forces destroying, hitting Ukrainian forces in the south. There is position in the south. So the Russian forces, as I mentioned, do not have really good incentive to push through, because there is just no good defensive line after Semenivka. So I wouldn't expect much movement over in this front line in this region here. And we move on to the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, the Russian forces are attacking in Belgorod as well as Rozhdolivka. The Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking at Belgorod. At Rozhdolivka, there is an airstrike being geolocated within Rozhdolivka itself. So this is a strategic situation at Siversk. Spurny and Volkomokamsky is not mentioned, so that's all for this Siversk Front. And over the Kreminna Front, Russian forces continue to be reported to be attacking Terny. So that's all. That's all Terny. Yeah, that's all. And moving on, nothing at the Zaporizhzhia Front. Over at the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces are attacking Semenivka and attacking out of Avdiivka, and that's about it. There's also nothing, no much details, information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and we move into the Belgorod Front. So at the Belgorod Front, the Ukrainian offensive basically have grind to a halt due to massive losses, at least if you believe the Russian Defense Ministry's claim. The only attack is currently being reported at Tonenke. This is a continuation of the special force strike using the helicopter. So the Ukrainian forces landed just off the border. Sorry, wrong color. So let me zoom in a bit. Just land off just off the border, and they track through and try to hold a line in Tonenke, try to hold a defensive line, and wait for armored vehicles to come and support and reinforcement to hold the defensive line so that then they can actually break through further out of Tonenke. So this is a strategy, or this is the plan that they have. So no, it makes sense. You have a storm unit, the Vanguard, hitting the front, storming the front, and these kind of troops usually are very well trained. They are able to take out the initial defenders and then hold a line with great skill and great use of their weapons, and then wait for reinforcement. The problem is the Russians have superior number of jets, drones in this area here, and with lancers and everything, the reinforcement didn't seem to have arrived. And then instead what we get is the Russians counter-attacking in this area here. According to the latest information, that the Ukrainian forces in Tonenke has been entirely ejected or destroyed. So Tonenke right now, this town right here is now entirely under Russian control. Information is coming from Russian sources, although. So the soldiers of the 2nd Special Forces Brigade destroyed the enemy forces landed near Tonenke. So, which means that the Russians also sent in their special force, probably Spetsnaz or something. So the special forces are fighting the special forces in Tonenke. And tentatively, the understanding is that Tonenke is under full Russian control. So this is the one spot that the Ukrainians are actually trying to attack. The only one over in the Belgorod Front that is still operating, and otherwise, it seems like the entire offensive has been a total failure right now. And Putin also, I think it's Putin. I think this is quoted from Ryba's report. Reported to the Security Council in Russia that this entire Belgorod offensive, the Ukrainian total strength, total power is 2.5 thousand people, which is 2,500 people, and it involved 35 tanks and 40 armored vehicles. So there's a lot of troops and quite a number of armored vehicles, but this is too little armored vehicles. In my opinion, is too small. They need to have more armored vehicles. They need to be in the hundreds in order to break through. But however, they do not have that number because they waste it away, against the Surovikin line. So they are not successful, and this is also going against the number of armored vehicles and people here also go against the so-called conventional wisdom that people say that such a big cluster of troops, clearly the Russians is going to see it, but you see the Ukrainians still able to launch an offensive with quite a huge number of tanks and armored vehicles. So it is possible that you can have drones, you can have satellite, but you can't really monitor everything. If you ever try to spot a thing using satellite imagery, you realize that it's extremely difficult. You require a lot of manpower to even just monitor a small section of the front line. So don't imagine this like some Hollywood movie. The reality is actually a lot harder to do all this imagery intelligence. So it's gonna take a lot of effort and a lot of manpower. So that's why also there is a lot of talk about using AI to try to identify targets. So I'm not sure how much such AI tools or engines has been used or developed at all. But most of the time, my understanding is that such intelligence through satellite imagery or drone is all using manpower, or using human ability to spot stuff. So it is still pretty possible to hide a lot of things. And anyway, if I zoom in, just imagine how small is a tank. Just imagine how small a tank. The tank is going to be just like, this is a tank. Like this is a tank. And then you're going to spot this in a drone satellite imagery of like this. It's going to be so difficult. It's just difficult. It's not that easy. So as much as the technology of satellite imagery drones have advanced a lot, it's not possible to cover the entire front line. So yeah, so I just want to highlight that. So which is why the Ukrainians still managed to gather quite a decent size of force, but I just have to say it's just not enough. So but the claim is quite incredulous because they claim that 2,500 people is involved in the offensive, but the Russians claim 1,500 has been lost according to our yesterday's SITREP. So which is why in Ryber's report, they did mention that 60% of the personnel and 50% of the armored vehicles has been destroyed. So this basically renders the entire offensive toothless. There is no way this offensive can be operated anymore. Like I mentioned before, in yesterday's SITREP, an offensive will be the most powerful right at the beginning. That's where the main punch is. And you will only get weaker and weaker as you advance further, with the hope that the enemy got weaker faster than you. But if that's not the case, then then your entire offensive is gone. And this is exactly what we are seeing right now. There is no way this force can break through anymore. The Belgorod Offensive is a massive failure. And even on top of this situation, there is still geolocation of Lancet strike on Ukrainian soldiers. The freaking Russia is using a Lancet drone, a rather not cheap drone, on manpower. They're hitting Ukrainian soldiers. And on top of that, over on the other front, on the other side, where I believe the main attack was supposed to come, at Voschansk, there is an airstrike on the deployment point, as well as further south, there was a MLRS, the Grad rocket attack against Ukrainian forces just north of Rubizny, over at the Verkhinya Pasarivka. So on top of the failure, the Ukrainians still cannot get a break, with Russian forces continue to use all sort of weaponry to hit Ukrainian manpower and known positions. So that's it for the Belgorod Offensive. After this failure of attack, because you can see the icon is red, it is actually a Russian counter-attack. So this is not... when I drew this one, I just trying to show that the Ukrainians are there, but the reality is that it is a Russian counterattack, and they fully re-secured Kozinka, and this is actually what happened. So the Ukrainian Belgorod Offensive is effectively over by now, and the other attack was reported at Tekhino. So again, the Tekhino happened according to Ryber. However, this attack, similarly to the fight attack 3 days ago, on the 12th, ended before the Ukrainian forces even managed to reach the border. So they are all destroyed before they hit the border, despite the fighting is being reported as fighting at Tekhino. So, and because this is just a raid, this is just diversions, or something, or try to infiltrate. Although there is a lot of frontline around here, but they choose Tekhino. So this force is eliminated, and that's why I don't even bother to draw this as a front, because it's not a real front. The real front is over at Belgorod region, and this front is gone case. So and furthermore, the final information over at Chernihiv region, there is a radar station getting destroyed by Russian forces. What did they use? I'm not sure. I didn't really look at the video. So that's it. Just a radar. They're getting destroyed. So that's it. This is the summary for the day of 751 for the 15th of March. Do press the like button, subscribe, share this to your friends and family, contact who are still interested, or try to convert people to watch DPA. It helps. It helps. Every little bit counts. Just a share, 2 clicks away. You'll be helping DPA to increase the reach, because there is nothing much I can do anymore, because the algorithm is now broken on YouTube. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next update, and enjoy your weekend.